everyone. In this video, we will look at the control statements, specifically the if, else, and else if conditions. Now, the first question will be what are control flow statements? So, control flow statements are conditions which have to be met for trying to process a kind of code execution that we want. So, let's say if we have only a specific condition met, we want to run some code. So whenever we have such kind of situations where some condition, only if some condition is met, we want to run some certain specific code, we're going to use control flow statements. So the classic examples of control flow statements that are available to us in Python are the if, else, and elif statements. So let's look at this and try to understand what they actually are in a Jupyter notebook. So I'm switching the Jupyter notebook. Okay. So the first condition that we'll try to understand is the if condition. So like in English, whenever we say that means if some condition has occurred or if some condition is true, only then Python is going to execute a certain piece of code. This is the most simplest form of control flow statements that we have. So let's look at an example and try to understand how this exactly works. So let's say I have a variable called a and I give it a value of 10. Now, once we have declared a, let's say only if a is 10, that is now if we're checking if the variable a is 10, we want to print a particular statement. So to do that, what we can say is we can check if a is 10. So if a double equals 10. So here by double equals, this is not an assignment operator like we saw in the first line. Here by double assigning or double equals 10, what we're telling Python is check if this value of a is actually equal to 10. And if this is true, then print. So let's say we write a statement and we make it extremely clear. Okay, so let's simply say print a is 10. So this statement will be printed. Okay, so what is exactly happening here? Let's see. So now when we are saying if a double equals 10, Python is going to check if the variable a is actually 10. So if it is 10, then we are asking Python to print this statement. Okay. So if we run this, we will see that this statement is printed because a is actually 10. We have already declared the value of 10 and here we are simply comparing this. Okay. Now, let's give it some other condition. So let's say if a is not equal to 10. So this would be a false condition because a is 10 and we are saying Python to check if a is not equals 10. And here let's print out I'm just going to write the word statement. And we'll give a print condition outside this if condition statements. Okay, so you can see as soon as I hit enter here, the cursor automatically is giving me a tab space. That means whatever is written inside in this space is part of this conditional statement. But if we actually go back and right from here, this statement will not be part of this if conditional statement. So print statement works like any ordinary print statement. It will simply print out whatever we will write. So let's make it extremely clear. I am going to mention the above statement is false, hence the word statement will not be printed. Okay, so if this condition was true, it would have printed the word statement. But now this will not be printed. So if you run this, only this command in line 3 got executed because this is outside the if conditional statements loop. Okay, so this is how the if condition works. Only if a certain condition is met, only then it will go inside the conditional loop and it is going to print that particular piece of code or do any action whatever we have mentioned. So here, since we have written a print, it's going to print out those statements. If we actually want to perform some other task, then you can write the code and the task will be performed if the condition is met. Otherwise, it is not going to be printed in this case. Now, let's try to understand the next control flow statement, that is the if-else condition. So like the name says, if or else. That means we can check two conditions. If one of the condition is true, then it is going to execute that piece of code inside the conditional loop, or else if the condition is false, it is going to go to the else part and it will execute the code whatever is present in the else statement. Okay, so if we actually try to understand it from the diagram point of view, we have a certain condition, and if the condition is true, it is going to execute the if code. Let's say the condition was not true and it is saying the condition is false, it is going to execute the else code. So this is how this particular if else condition works. So let's actually take a small example and understand how this is functioning. So in the above condition I had mentioned this, right? So let's copy this out and I'm going to use this but in a different fashion. So now we said if a is not equal to 10, print statement, and below that I can simply mention else, and here I will mention this print statement. And now try to understand what will happen. Now let's say I write one more print statement below this like we had done in the previous case, and this is outside the loop. Okay, so the print statement is starting now. So let's say I'm just printing out the numbers 1, 2, 3. Fine. So now if I run this particular piece of code, you will see both the statements getting executed. Here a is not equal to 10 is false because a is actually 10. So this particular condition is false. So if condition is false, so like we saw, if the condition is false, it is going to execute the else code. So it is going to the else code and is printing out this statement. Okay, so that is the reason we have this statement printed. But we have written this another piece of code, print 1, 2, 3, which is outside the conditional loop. So 1, 2, 3 is also printed. So this is how the if else condition works. If the condition is true, this particular piece of code is executed. If the condition is false, then it is directly go to the else condition and it is going to do whatever task you have mentioned over there. Okay.